Hi friends, I'm Ashley and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be judging books by their covers. Specifically, we're going to be looking at 9 different YA fantasy books that came out this year between April, May, June, and July. And we're going to be looking at the US and UK covers of these books and comparing the two of them. And we're going to make it a little competition between the US and UK and see which covers are superior. And so I did one of these videos back in May, which I'll link that down below. I had a lot of fun with that one, and so I've been wanting to do another video like this again, so here we are. And this is just for fun, and these are just my personal opinions. And if your opinions don't line up with mine, that is perfectly fine. And in the last video I did, the UK covers won by a landslide, so the score was UK covers 5, US covers 2. So I'm very intrigued to see how this round goes. Will the UK dominate again, or will there be an upset by the US book covers? Let's find out. So the first book we're going to be looking at is The Floating World by Axie that came out in April, and this has been one of my favorite books of the year so far. So here is the US cover, and I really love the US cover on this edition. I feel like it just perfectly encapsulates the vibes of the book. So the author said this book was inspired by Studio Ghibli's Castle in the Sky and also Final Fantasy, and I feel like the US cover gives those vibes. And I also love how this cover has both the main female character and the main male character as well. And this book is dual perspectives, and so each of the characters are equally important. And so I just really love how they're both represented on this cover. And I also love that they're holding hands. It makes my heart so happy. And overall, I also just love the colors of this cover. Like, it just comes across as like calming and peaceful to me. Now let's look at the UK cover. So the UK cover, I like the colors. I like how bright it is, but a difference between this one and the US cover is that only the main female character is on this cover, and so that's one of the reasons why I prefer the US cover over the UK cover. And overall, I just like the vibes and the feeling that I get from the US cover more than the UK cover. So 1 point is going to the US covers. So book number 2 is one that has also been one of my favorite books of the year so far, and that's The Notorious Virtues by Alwyn Hamilton. And this one also came out in April. And so here is the US cover, and here is the UK cover. So this one is very interesting because the designs are the same, and the only thing that's different is the colors. And so I really like the design of this cover. It's definitely giving the fairy tale vibes that the book has. And for this one, I actually preferred the colors of the US edition. I just really like how it's just a solid bronze copper color. So that's going to be another point going to the US book covers. So now it's US covers 2 and UK covers 0. So far this is going the exact opposite of the last episode. Moving on to book 3, we have The Glittering Edge by Alyssa Villaire. And this one came out in May, and so here is the US cover. So I love the purple and black color scheme that is going on in this cover. And this book is a witchy book, and the cover is definitely giving witchy vibes, and I pretty much love everything about the cover. I love like the purple, magical, whimsical looking clouds in the background, and I also love the illustration of the girl on the cover, whom I'm assuming is the main character. She just is like giving witchy YA main female character vibes. Now let's look at the UK cover. So first I just have to mention that the UK cover is a paperback, which is very interesting. It's definitely giving mystical, fantastical, magical vibes, but I feel like it doesn't scream YA witchy fantasy vibes. I feel like it more screams adult witchy fantasy vibes, whereas the US cover, I feel like 100% screams YA witchy vibes. So because of that, another point is going to the US book covers. So now it is US book covers 3 points and UK book covers 0 points. So things are not looking good for the UK book covers. Let's see if we can turn things around with this next book. So book number 4 is The Enemy's Daughter by Melissa Poett, and this one came out in May. So here is the US cover. So this cover I think is okay. It's not really doing much for me. I do really like though how the space between the two characters on the book is like shaped like a spear. I think that's a really neat little touch because they are enemies. But other than that, I'm not the biggest fan of this cover. And so now let's look at the UK cover. Now this cover is gorgeous. It's breathtaking, it's dazzling, it puts the US book cover to shame. And I love this cover so much. I love the colors, I love the illustration, I love the art style, I pretty much just love everything about this cover. So that being said, the UK book covers finally get 1 point. So now it is 3-1, still in the favor of the US book covers. So book number 5 is A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. So this one came out in May, and so here's the US cover. So I love the design of the US cover. I love the gold foil. It really makes it pop. And I just love also our character on the front cover and how she has a paintbrush. And this cover is also definitely giving fairy tale whimsical vibes. Now let's look at the UK cover. So this cover is also gorgeous and dazzling. I love the colors of it. I love how it's screaming whimsical fairy tale vibes. I love all the little details in it, how you have the dragon and you have our main female character with her paintbrush and you have all the little fish swimming around. And the underwater palace is also in there. And so for this one, I love both of these covers like so much that I cannot choose between them. So I'm actually calling this one a tie. So no points to either US or UK book covers because it is a tie. I'm curious to know, let me know down below in the comments if you prefer one of these covers over the other, because I would love to know your opinions, because I personally just cannot choose between the two of these. So moving on to book number 6 is Ear Storms by Lauryn Hamilton Murray. And this one came out in June. So here is the US cover. So I really like the US cover. I like the colors a lot. I like the purple and blue sky. And I like the little details in the cover. I love like the texture that's in the clouds. So like the streaks of rain that are in the sky. And also the gold eye that's in the middle and the lines that are radiating outward from it. Overall, this cover gives off a feeling of power to me. Now let's look at the UK cover. So this one is a paperback. Again, this cover has a sky, but it's more of a zoomed out painting of the sky as compared with the sky on the US cover. And I do like the colors in this book cover, but I feel like I like the colors in the texture and the design of the US cover more. So that being said, this point is going to the US book covers. So now it's US book covers 4 and UK book covers 1. So it's still not looking too good for the UK book covers. So at this point, they can't beat the US book covers, but they could tie because there are 3 more books left. So if they win each of these rounds, then they could tie with the US book covers. So let's move on to the next book and see what happens. So book number 7 is Den of Liars by Jessica S. Olson, and this one came out in July. So here's the US cover. So this one, I really like the illustration style and the colors are in the cover. Definitely giving off mysterious, mystical vibes. Now let's look at the UK cover. So the UK cover. I personally don't really like this cover that much. I don't know exactly why. I think it's something to do with the style of it. Like, I don't really care for the font that's on the front of it and how big it is. I do like, though, how it has the gems and the roulette table on it, because this book is about a dice tournament and gambling. So at least the cover is like giving you a little glimpse about what the book is about, where I feel like the US cover comes across as more ambiguous. But that being said, I do prefer the art style and vibes that the US cover is giving over the UK cover. So with that being said, another point is going to the US book covers. So that's 5 points to the US book covers and only 1 point to the UK book covers. Moving on to book 8, which is Of Flame and Fury by Mikayla Bridge. And this one came out in July. And so here's the US cover. So the first time I saw this cover, I was like, oh, I really like the colors of it. But now the more I look at this cover, the more I'm finding I'm not the biggest fan of it. I just feel like it isn't doing very much for me. The design isn't really pulling me in, isn't really making me want to pick up the book. Now let's look at the UK cover. So this one, in contrast to the US cover, draws me in. I look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. I like the colors, I like how bright it is, and also I like that there is a phoenix on the cover. And so that intrigue makes me want to pick it up and find out more about it. And so this point is going to the UK book covers. The UK book covers finally get another point. So now it is 2-5. So book number 9 and the final book cover we'll be looking at is Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. And this one came out in July. So first let's look at the US book cover. So this cover is stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it so much. I love the colors. I love the design. It's definitely screaming dark, mysterious fantasy to me, which is perfect because this is a dark academia. So now let's look at the UK covers. So this is specifically the UK special exclusive edition. And I think this one is also gorgeous and dazzling, just like the US cover. I love the colors. I love the design that is on it. It is very similar in vibes to the US cover in terms of color and designs. The US cover has the image of the tree in full bloom, and then on top of that it has like the inverted image of it with no leaves. And then the UK cover does a very similar thing with its illustration, but it has a school instead of a tree. And this one, it's so hard for me to choose which one I like over the other, but I'm gonna go with the UK cover just because I really like how it has a school on the cover. And so that is like telling you that this is going to take place in a school. Whereas I feel like the US cover with the tree is a little bit more ambiguous. And also I like how on the UK cover it says, "Welcome to Blackwood Academy. Some fates are worse than death." So again, it's just like telling you a little bit more about the story. So a point to the UK covers. That puts the UK covers at 3 and the US covers at 5. So the UK covers did get some wins in the end, but unfortunately it is not enough to catch up with the US covers. So this round of US versus UK book covers goes to the US book covers. And their victory almost mirrors UK's victory in the first video because UK book covers won 5-2, and in this video the US book covers are winning 5-3. And so with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun. I personally had a lot of fun doing this. I always love looking at book covers, especially pretty book covers. They just always make me smile and it brings me joy. So I also hope it brought you some joy and smiles as well. And I'd love to know your thoughts down below. What were your opinions of these book covers? Did we have similar opinions, different opinions? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!